One common pattern I see amongst clients is the desire to maximize returns. Now, that sounds pretty intuitive. Who wouldn't want to maximize returns? I would want to find the next Tesla, the next Nvidia, give my money to the next Bill Ackman for them to manage it. Those are all natural things to want. But over the long term, data's confirmed time and time again that finding the next Tesla, finding the next Ackman, they're just increasingly hard. One anecdote that proves this point is Warren Buffett's $1 million bet. Warren Buffett bet against a collection of different fancy hedge funds that his simple, low-cost S&P 500 ETF that he purchased through Vanguard on a 10-year time horizon would beat the very biggest and brightest minds in the hedge fund industry. Warren Buffett won. At the end of 10 years, the S&P 500 ETF was up over 125%, while the best performing collection of hedge funds was up only 87%. Warren Buffett won for two reasons. Number one was he was patient. He had time in the market. He didn't try to time the market. And he was passive. He had a strategy and he stuck to it consistently. The second thing that Warren Buffett did was control fees. Vanguard's S&P 500 ETFs notoriously have extremely low fees. Now compare that to the counterparty of the bet, the world's biggest, fanciest hedge funds. These hedge funds are managed by people with Ivy League degrees, with vast experience at some of Wall Street's most prestigious firms. Why did they lose the bet? It's not because of lack of brain power. It's not because of a lack of wit. It's not because of a lack of experience, but they didn't have a strategy that they stuck to. They tried to time things. They tried to outsmart the market, and all of their experience and expertise has a lot of fees that associated with it. Now look, while that story certainly proves my point, right? I want to be fair and balanced. Stock picking definitely can have a huge effect, greater than the amount of fees that you pay. If you found the next Tesla or the next Nvidia at IPO, if you invested in the next Renaissance Technologies or Bill Ackman, yeah, certainly you could pay 1% or 2% or 3% a year and still marvelously outperform an S&P 500 index fund. Problem is that the data shows that is increasingly hard to do. Now look, that Warren Buffett story is a really cool story. I always like it. It proves the point. But I want to be fair and balanced. Morningstar actually did a study on this. One of the biggest predictors of future success for a fund isn't the fund manager's prior track record. It isn't where they went to college, and it certainly isn't the firms listed on their resume. It's the fees that they charge. The lower that the fees were on the underlying fund, the better that the underlying fund tended to perform over the subsequent 5, 10, or 15-year period. Now let's make this a little bit more tangible. Imagine an individual with a portfolio of $3 million. That person might pay 1% to his financial advisor per year. Let's run through the math. The first year on $3 million, 1% is $30,000. Say that the market is up 10% for simplicity's sake. Now they have $3.3 million. Now they get charged 1% of that. Now it's $33,000. $3,000 higher than last year, despite the advisor not doing any more work, just because the market is up. Now let's extend this example for one more year. If the market is up 10%, on $3.3 million, now that investor has $3.63 million, and the corresponding fee at 1% is $36,300. Now let's make this more concrete and tangible. Consider an investor that has a $3 million portfolio. A traditional advisor might charge him 1% per year in advisory fees. So the first year on $3 million, 1% would be $30,000. Now let's just say that the market is up 10%. Now that same investor, instead of $3 million, has $3.3 million. 1% of that is $33,000, a 3% increase from the $30,000 fee they paid last year. Now let's do year three. Let's just say that the market goes up another 10%. Now that investor that had $3.3 million the prior year has just over $3.6 million. And the fee associated with it at 1% is just over $36,000. Now, over the course of 2 years, they went from paying $30,000 to paying $36,000. And it doesn't stop after 2 years. As the market grows, the fee grows along with it. And it's not just that you're losing out on $30,000 or $33,000 or $36,000. It's that money now gets taken out of your portfolio. If you were to put that money, that just under $100,000, into an S&P 500 index fund over the course of 20 years, you'd have over $350,000. That's a lot of money. And it had nothing to do with picking the right stocks. It had nothing to do with picking the right manager. It had to do with controlling the level of fees that you paid. Now, I want to go through a couple of rebuttals that I typically get from people when we have this discussion. The first one is that they always say, Mark, 1% sounds super small. I mean, if the market goes up 8, 9, 10%, depending on whose estimates you want to use, why is giving my advisor 1% if they're making me 7 or 8% net after their fee? Why is that such a big deal? Well, the answer is because of the math we just went through. Yes, it does sound small. It's probably designed to sound small. But when you look at it on a 1, 2, 3 year time frame, the numbers get big. And then when you look at it at a 5, 10, 15, 20, or a multi-decade time frame, the numbers get really big. The other rebuttal that I often get is people say, well, Mark, if my advisor charges me 1%, but they outperform by 2%, technically I'm 1% to the good, right? And my advisor in the past has outperformed by way more than 2%. Well, when I hear that rebuttal, what I always say is maybe they have, and maybe they'll continue to outperform. I don't know. But what I would say is that the data isn't in their favor. According to any big study that you want to cite, 9 out of 10 active managers underperform their target benchmark net of fees. Now, again, I can't definitively tell you your advisor or money manager won't be the 1 out of 10, but I can tell you that the odds probably aren't in your favor. If this video made sense to you and you're interested in learning more about how you can lower your advisory fees while still maintaining access to a professional financial advisor, I'd love to tell you about the work that we're doing with our clients here at Valorum. If you feel like you'd benefit from a call, please click the link below. I look forward to speaking with you soon.